On this episode of Sally's Speed Up, we see if we can get the Green Hornét here to run at least one more time after the engine threw a rod, and we don't have any new parts. This should go real well. For those of you guys that don't actually know the story of the Green Hornét, let me give you a quick rundown of what this car has been through. I first got it in September of 2015, kind of as a gimmick to get the attention of David Freiberger and Mike Finnegan when I was out in California for the Roadkill Nation special. But it turned into this car that I absolutely fell in love with. So I bought it in LA, drove it out to the event, and that's when it got its name. David Freiberger was riding in the passenger seat on our way to dinner, and he was so impressed by just how nice his car was. And he had actually seen it for sale on Craigslist and was mad that he didn't go look at it himself. But he's like, man, it's too fancy to just call the Hornet, so you should call it the Green Hornét. And I was like, man, that's awful. But it stuck. So it's the Green Hornét. And since then, I drove the car all the way across the country from California back to Georgia, where I was living at the time. And that was like 2,200 miles in just 3 days. But it made the trip nearly flawlessly, and since then, it has done 2 Hot Rod Power Tour long hauls. It has been coast to coast about 7 times. It's been to 38 states, more national parks than I could possibly count. It's actually done the Cannonball Run from New York to LA in under 37 hours, which doesn't sound that impressive, but I actually broke the car in the process and had to stop and fix it. So, inline 6, 258 AMC with a little bit of performance goodies thrown on top. TorqueFlite 904 3-speed automatic and the original AMC 20 rear end. So this thing isn't really that spectacular, but me and my buddy Mike Finnegan on the show Finnegan's Garage, we installed a whole bunch of good stuff on it. We put a Holley 4-barrel on it, MSD Pro billet distributor with an MSD 6AL-2 box, and the real kicker, a direct port injection kit from Holley's NOS. And this thing boogies on nitrous. We got about 100 shot on it. I've poured so many bottles through it, didn't care at all. My biggest crowning achievement though was winning the Hot Rod Power Tour Burnout contest with just a 1 tire fire at about 12 hits of nitrous in 60 seconds. So let's see if it'll do at least one more burnout with that straight 6 that's now a straight 5. Here we go. First things first, let's get this hood off because I want to show you guys exactly what's going on under here. Step 1 out of a million. And just like that, there you go. Hood sitting over there. It's a little harder to take off than it used to be. Well, and that's because the hood has flown open on this car a few times and the hinges are very bent. So here is the AMC 258 inline 6 with all kinds of performance goodies. We got a Clifford 6=8 intake. We got a Clifford 6=8 header. There's a Holley 4-barrel underneath that hat. We obviously have the direct port injection nitrous kit in there. The MSD 6AL-2, the ready to run Pro billet distributor, and inside that you can't see is a comp cam. So it was kind of a fun project, but this was really just messing around because, well, in there's a Hemi for this car. So this needs to come out of here, but before that happens, I think we got to give it at least one more shot. It turns over totally fine, and as far as I know, only through rod number 1. So let's dig in and see what we can find. So here's what actually gives me hope for this engine, is that it turns totally free despite throwing a rod. It has no hang-ups, and you can actually hear the exhaust hissing because part of the engine is in fact still making compression. So I just got to get it apart and find out exactly what's broken inside and see if I can fix it on the cheap and make this thing run just for one more glorious burnout. Send it off in a blaze of glory. See how easy that spins? It wants to run. One thing that happened when this thing threw a rod was that it started leaking from the oil pan right there. Yep, I spy a little bit of damage. So it's right at the front, which makes me think it's rod number 1. And in addition, it leaks a little bit of coolant off the side of the block, although there's still some in the radiator. First, I'm going to drain the oil so we can see what that looks like inside. Probably going to get some chunks. All kinds of spider webs under here. That's how you really know it's going to be good. You got spider webs under your car from it sitting in the driveway for 6 months after you broke it. So Got to pull this drain plug out and see what comes out of it. Well, there's still some oil in there. And I cleaned this drain pan out really good, so we'll be able to see exactly what it looks like. Still feels like oil. Man, it's gross under here. I honestly expected there to be a lot more sparkle in this oil. You can see there's a little bit of glitter in there, but way less than I expected considering this thing ran so low on oil pressure for about 700 miles. It had volume, but no real pressure because it chucked a lifter out of a bore. And this is surprisingly good. It's pretty clean. That is weird considering it threw a rod, but it's a good sign for maybe getting this thing running again. Now that I've got the oil drained, it's time to actually dig into the front of this motor and see if I can get the timing cover off, so I will be able to see what exactly is going on with the cam, whether it's the chain, the gear, or the actual cam itself. And then if I can't find anything wrong there, I'll probably pull the distributor and see if the shaft is broken. But doesn't look that bad so far. Let's dive in though. So, got to get everything off the front of the engine so that I can get to the timing cover and see what's going on in there. Now, it's really important that while you're working down here, you don't remove the radiator so that you ruin it by scratching it all up and ruining all the little fins in it. Critical step. No, but in all seriousness, if you want to protect your radiator, either take it out or slide a piece of cardboard over it, which I'm not going to do. But if you're smart, you would. Alright, gonna continue making this happen. So, according to Moby right here, my bolt for my puller is a little too long to fit between the pulley and the radiator, so I'm gonna have to drain the coolant anyway. Found this little igloo container. It should work nicely, because I don't have a 5-gallon bucket. Sometimes you just gotta make do with what you got. That coolant actually looks surprisingly nice. What do you think, Moby? Is it good? Sit. Shake. Good boy. Oh, you're adorable. Let's pop the cap too. Make it drain faster. What do you think of that, bud? Boop. Real time. Real time. You're gonna sound like an idiot in it. Technology is hard. Why are you playing a video of me while I'm filming myself doing something? He's ridiculous, guys. Look, there's the radiator, though. That's what we needed.
Very cool.
Is that a joke about cooling systems?
Yes, it is.
God, your dad jokes are so bad.
Bad joke. Bad dad joke.
All right, now we got way more access in here. What are your thoughts on this whole endeavor?
I think it's a great idea. I say keep this engine, don't put the Hemi in there.
Oh no, this has got to go. This
really.
Thing is junk.
I hope it'll run so we can put it in one of the other Hornets. That's the goal.
You want a 4-cylinder? Because that only has 4 cylinders left. I kept saying 5 cylinders earlier, but then I remembered that this number 5 cylinder chucked the lifter out of the bore, so yeah. I'm gonna say it doesn't work.
Well, 4 cylinders get good gas mileage.
Yeah, it'll just be dragging only 1 cylinder though, because the other one's not gonna be moving. It doesn't have a piston connected to the crankshaft anymore.
Maybe it'll be worth a good burnout, you know, but we'll see.
That's it.
Might not take much to fix it.
It makes sense if you don't think about it, guys. That's the moral of this story.
Yeah.
Anyway, gotta get that timing cover off now. It's hard to turn. It should be free if you can in fact lift a pulley that weighs 3 pounds. There we go, liberated. How much you want to bet the timing chain is totally fine and it's the cam that's broken in half?
I'm not putting any money on that.
No money?
No.
Look at all this room for activities we have in here now with no radiator. No drive system. So nice. All right, you ready to see what's underneath the timing cover? I'm not sure I am. Let's see what we got. Oh man, it's coming loose. The timing chain is intact, the timing gear is intact, but the distributor doesn't spin. So that means either the distributor shaft is broken or the cam itself broke into two pieces. Ooh, it's got a little bit of slop in it too. Yep, something broke. Pull that all the way off. Let it fall.
Sheared, perhaps.
Pull it off. That is interesting. That's a weird failure.
Didn't Finnegan have that
The
same
bolt
problem?
broke.
Oh, Finnegan had that same problem on the Blasphemy with on the death metal charger.
So I might be able to just change the bolt if I can get that old piece out, but
the bolt.
That's going to be tricky.
The bolt is like
pulled in.
Yeah.
That is unique. I've never seen that. Look at this, guys.
In all your 26 years.
So it actually pulled the bolt into the gear. And so that washer, that's the washer that's sitting on the outside. I don't know if you can see that. That's the washer. It pulled the bolt almost through the washer and then broke it off inside the cam. So,
but why?
What I can do is I can weld this to the cam if I really need to, just to get it running. But we also need to find out if the cam will in fact turn. That is wild. All right, explain what happened here, because you just explained it perfectly.
So it appears the camshaft is locked up. We were looking at that. So what happened was...
hang on, before that. I can't move the camshaft at all, and it should move relatively easily. So that is actually locked up. Something jammed against it and kept it from spinning.
So the camshaft locked, it sheared the pin off, then this thing kept spinning.
Yeah, the crank was still turning.
And it pulled the bolt in through that washer, and then kept torquing it till it snapped it in two.
That is wild. So the engine was still trying to run even with the camshaft locked up.
Never say die.
That is unique.
Yeah. It's not a quitter.
All right. So now the real test is what happened to piston number 1, because we could see into the oil pan. You peeked already, I know. Maybe. But I haven't seen it. So let's see what's going on in here. Give me some light. Oh, yep, there are pieces in there. Oh man, there's lots of pieces. That's not good. So, I'd say we found our failure. Yep. We're gonna dive a little deeper. See what's actually going on in there. Pull a piece out. Or I might be able to. Oh gosh.
Spare parts.
That's a piece of a connecting rod. Look at the bearing. That is toast.
Grenaded, man.
Oh, goodness. Yep, that's one of many pieces. And, that's not exactly ideal, but...
That is shrapnel.
It can run on 4 cylinders. Let's see if we can get this bolt out of this cam gear. There we go. There's the washer with the shape of the bolt pressed into it, which is pretty wild. And let's see this bolt. Oh, that's crazy. It actually cut the piece of the washer out as it came through. Up here at the front of the engine, looks pretty clean, but once you go a little deeper, you can see the camshaft up in there. So right there is the camshaft, and you can actually see a piece of the connecting rod jammed up against it right there. So if I can pop that out, the cam should spin freely, and maybe this engine will run once more. Only one way to find out. Rather than doing this the right way and actually pulling the oil pan off to where I can see what I'm doing, I'm just gonna jam a screwdriver up in there and see if I can pop the piece out that has the cam jammed. Yeah, that should be fine, right? Oh man, I think we got it. I think we got it. Let's see if I can pull it out with this magnet real quick. Give me a second. Oh, there it is. Oh man. Oh man. Check it out. I totally got that. There it is. It's still got the bolt in it with the nut still attached. That is wild. Oh, that's awesome. Look how messed up that is. So that's pretty much the entire bottom of the connecting rod. I'm pretty sure. I think that's every piece. And I thought if I slide my phone inside the oil pan through this slot, I'd be able to see the piston. And there you go. Piston number 1 is still in the hole. Connecting rod still attached. It looks pretty messed up though. Interesting. It's pretty clean in there too. So I took myself a little time to think on the issues I'm having with the Green Hornét here. The straight 6 is very broken, and I think I might have come up with a solution to remedy that. But I will say it's not conventional, and I would never recommend you actually do it to any of the engines you care about. But with this thing, I just want to see if it'll run again, just to see how tough this little straight 6 is. So this is the bolt that sheared off inside the camshaft, and I don't really need it to hold the gear to the cam anymore because I have a welder. I can just glue it on. But I do need this bolt to actually act as the thrust for the cam, because you see that little nub there in the middle? That sets against a little piece on the timing cover and keeps the cam from walking in and out. So I need to weld this to the camshaft and obviously weld it with the timing set correctly, which is kind of going to be tricky because there's no TDC on number 1 anymore because the number 1 piston is very broken. But I could probably get around that. In addition to that, I also drilled a hole through the washer and through the cam gear to where I can affix another bolt, and then I can drill and tap the cam in the same spot. And then obviously I have my dowel pin that will go on the other side, and that, in theory, should hold everything in place. I don't know if this is going to work, but it's going to be interesting to see if it's got a shot. I think it does, but I don't know. I'm just a guy screwing around with a straight 6 in his garage for fun during quarantine from COVID-19. Whatever. It looks like I'm going to have to break out the old metal gluer and try some welding. So this is probably just going to end in a disaster, but I'm going to give it my best shot. Well, looks like that went all right. I will take it. All right, guys, step 2 is to throw even more sparks into my oil pan. Yep, that's gonna happen. All right, we'll call that good enough. I think that'll hold just fine. One of the things I was struggling with was how to get this thing at TDC on number 1, because obviously piston number 1 is no longer connected to the crank. But I remember while I was rebuilding this thing, I noticed that number 1 and number 6 come up at the exact same time and go to TDC at the same time. So I set piston number 6 at TDC using my fancy feeling screwdriver there. And that seems to have worked, because if you come around to the gear on the crank, it's in the right spot for this dot to line up with the timing gear when it's installed. And I have to get this timed and the cam timed before I weld the cam gear on because I wouldn't be able to put the chain on otherwise. So it's all got to go on in one piece. So yeah, this might just work. And before I put the gear on, I'm actually going to tap this hole for a 1/4 inch bolt so that I have some means of bolting the gear to the cam before I weld it. So I've got a 1/4 tap. And now I gotta run it into this hole in the camshaft and hopefully not break it off in there because that would be pretty catastrophic. Just got it started, and once I get it started, I'm gonna spray a little lube on there because that's very important. And remember guys, a little lube goes a long way. I'm gonna opt for some PB Blaster. And I gotta say guys, when you're working with a tap, you don't just want to ram it right in there. You want to go a little bit at a time, work it in slowly. If you jam it in there, you're liable to hurt something. Oh, there's so many innuendos here. So it looks like if I slide this guy on right there, everything's gonna line up. Let's see if I can slide something in here temporarily. There we go. That sucker is timed. So you see those 2 dots, they're lined up. My pins are lined up. And the number 6 is at TDC, which means number 1 should be at TDC. Now I just gotta burn this guy in. This is working though. That is far from pretty, but I think it's on there. Well, shoo-wee! That right there is almost believable, guys. I gotta weld that washer to the actual cam gear, but other than that, I think this thing is pretty much set. That little flux core welder does alright too. Well, let's make it happen. Oh man. Check it out, guys. Everything spins. There might be hope for this thing yet. Now that I've got my timing chain fixed, I got the matter of this dent here in my oil pan that's leaking. So little hammer action, throw some gasket maker on that, and it'll be good to go. Now that I've got the entire front of the car back together and everything rotating as it should, it's time to put the front end back together and hopefully start this thing. Cue the time lapse. It's a new day out here in the garage and the Hornet is pretty much ready to fire, but I can't handle this. It needs its bumper back. It's missing its face. Every car has a face, and when you remove the bumper, it's like taking the lips off the car. So we got to put the Hornet's lips back on. Then I got to add fluids, and I have to go recover some parts that my dad plundered off of this car for one of his Hornets because I don't have a means of running the alternator, and I need the alternator to be there so I can run the water pump. And that's pretty important. So I got to go do some scavenging, steal some parts off another Hornet, and I can't seem to find the U-bolts for the drive shaft either. I guess when cars sit around, they just get ransacked for a bunch of different parts. Or, you know, I probably just lost them when I was dragging this thing off the side of the road after it threw the rod. Who knows? But anyway, let's see what we can do. Like I said, a car needs its face. That's important. The funny thing is, I probably shouldn't be doing any of this until I verify that the car is actually going to run, but I have such high hopes and faith in this straight 6 that it's now a straight 4 that I'm just going to go for it because it makes sense if you don't think about it. Look at that! Installed. Now I'm over here at the Davis family compound, which is actually the future home to Sally's Speed Shop. We're building that shop right now. That'll be another video. But this is my dad's 1970 AMC Hornet coupe that has some of the parts that he stole off of my car. So I'm gonna drive this thing over to the house and steal the parts right back off of it. Should work a treat. First things first, this car's been sitting for a minute, so it probably doesn't run, which will be awesome. But it does have a battery in it, and the battery is actually disconnected, which is a good sign. You know, just hit those on there with your palm. That'll work totally fine. Let's see if it fires. Oh, she fired right up, guys. Good old AMC quality right there. Good to go. All right, we're in the car. I got my best bud with me. Say hello, Moby. Say hey. Yeah, he doesn't care. He doesn't understand cameras. Oh, fires right up every time. Woo, buddy. There's a lot of pollen in here. And we had a good old 3 on the tree. So I'm column shifting. Sorry for the bumpy ride. We're on a gravel driveway. Oh, she runs so good. Some squeaks, some rattles, but otherwise, this car is golden. I think it's the parts off the Green Hornét. Once I take those off, this car's gonna be junk. Yep, she cruises. Look at that dirty windshield. Moby's a happy dog though. I need to shift. It's hard to shift and film. What's up, Moby? Almost home. It's a short little drive. Now that I've successfully stolen some parts off of my dad's car and put them on this vehicle, it's time to add some fluids. I don't know if you guys remember, but I drained all the antifreeze into this, which might come in handy right about now. So I got a little spout to use. Oh, that is a thing of beauty right there. I like this. No mess. Nice and easy. Oh man, my finger's getting tired. Gonna have to switch. This works so good though. Takes a little while, but gives you time to think on what you're doing and evaluate your life choices that brought you to this point. And look at that, it's full. That was beautiful. Just had a bit of what I might call a revolutionary idea. This thing doesn't make any oil pressure because not only is one of the rods missing, so oil pours out of that journal of the crank, but also a lifter got chucked out of a bore, and that's the reason it lost oil pressure in the first place. But I found this in the back while I was cleaning out the car looking for parts, and I figure the thicker your oil is, the better, right? Yep, you see where this is going. I think some gear oil in the engine might do wonders for this thing. What do you guys think? I'm gonna try it. I got some gear oil, some SDP oil treatment with zinc, and obviously the 15W40 Delo. Is that gonna be enough to help this straight 6 live a little longer? I'm not sure, but we're gonna find out. We're answering the important questions here at Sally's Speed Shop for science. Oh man, this just feels wrong. Oh well, let's go for it. Oh man, that is a weird feeling. Weird feeling indeed. I figure I'm not gonna hurt anything though. There's nothing left to hurt. Oh goodness, what am I doing with my life? For any of you guys that think I don't care, I am in fact putting brand new oil in this engine, and that counts for something, right? Go for some distance. Oh man. Bring it back in. Perfect. All right, let's add some zinc because, like I said, I just cared. That's some real goop right there. Oh, look at that. Yeah, I think this thing's gonna live for another 100,000 miles. Oh, this is so dumb. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna let that drain for a minute. That's a heck of a sound right there.
It's time for this battery from who knows what year.
It looks old though. This is the first time the Hornet's had a battery in it. In like 6 months.
You got a terminal cleaner?
Like it really matters.
I think it might. Oop. Nope.
Oh,
Not what you do. Never.
Hammers fix everything. Yeah, don't hurt the oil pan. That would be catastrophic for this little motor at this point.
Yeah, it would.
It's kind of liberating when you're working on a car and nothing really matters. You kind of get to do things you would never do, which is kind of how you learn new things, I guess.
All right, it's up.
Check this out, guys. It's got coolant in the radiator, oil in the engine. It's got a battery sitting there. I just need to fill the float bowls up. And here's a little trick for you guys. If you're starting something up that's been sitting for a while, you could put 2-stroke gasoline in it. No, this is not actually vitamin water. It is 2-stroke gasoline.
You just made that up, didn't you?
And I'm going to fill the float bowls with this little guy. And that way it's got a better shot at running right off the bat. Think it'll run on 4?
Sure. Lots of cars run on 4.
Depending on if I timed everything right. We'll see. First things first, just to make sure nothing incredibly bad is going to happen when I hit the starter, I'm going to unhook the ignition coil so that it doesn't start running.
Man, there's some fire jumping out here.
I heard spark. Where is it coming from?
The coil.
Okay, man, that thing jumps a long way.
Yeah. It's not your average coil.
Now will she run? All right, I think it's time to make some noise. And make sure you have one of these handy, because you don't want to do something stupid and burn your car to the ground simply because you didn't buy a $14 fire extinguisher. That's not a good move. I'm kind of nervous, but at the same time, it doesn't really matter.
I think you got it backwards.
So I had it right before? Maybe?
I think you got the firing order backwards the way it's coughing and spitting.
Because I switched it because I thought I had it wrong.
Yeah.
But maybe I had it right. So now I got to switch all the timing back because I think it's 180 out even though I already switched it from being 180 out. I don't know.
So then it's going to be 360 out.
360 out is...
Yeah.
Means it's right though. Yeah. Anyway. Alright, so we just switched the timing around back to how it used to be. And we're going to give it another try.
Without a drive shaft.
It fired right up though.
It's not happy.
It's not happy, but it did fire. So I think with a little more gas and a little more throttle commitment, she'll run. Alright, take 2 with more gas in it. Let's see if I can get it to run a little longer.
She's purring like a kitten.
Before it throws a rod, we need to put a drive shaft in it. It runs so freaking rough, but it actually runs and it has throttle response.
It runs as good as some cars on the road. It really does. You heard cars running like that.
This is so stupid. I can't believe this thing runs again.
It's a little engine that could.
Man, this thing will not die. I mean, I wouldn't take it on a road trip as it currently sits, but it runs. That is
Not bad for a
wild.
4-cylinder.
That is wild. All right, let's put a drive shaft in and go for a drive.
It's only 2/3 of the car it used to be.
This is so dumb. Oh, this car is dirty underneath. Oh, there's one end in. Can you put the car in neutral?
Sure.
All right. Turn the ignition off if it's still on. Good to go. All right, so since July 4th, this car has not moved under its own power. Granted, it doesn't have nearly as much power as it did, not that it had a lot. But it's running on 4 cylinders, and we're going to see if it'll actually roll out of the garage under its own power. Fingers crossed. This could either go really well, or it could throw a rod before it even makes it into the yard. Weird. So I have the #1 spark plug out because the piston's not moving and I don't want any pressure from the exhaust or anything to maybe push it down into the crank. Yeah. So yeah, that's what's smoking, is that little open hole. I didn't know what that was at first. But it moved.
It did.
It's outside the garage now.
Is it done moving?
Maybe, I don't know. No, I don't think so. I think it just sputtered out. It probably needs to warm up a little bit. All right, let's see if it'll run a little longer. Shake it a little bit. She definitely shakes a little. And she doesn't like to idle. But she moves. All right, guys. We're moving some things around. They're a little tight on there. They'll go on though. So we're putting smaller tires on the back. It's my buddy James here. I don't know why he's helping with this stupid project. But if you put smaller tires on the back, it's like you're changing your rear gear, and that'll make it easier to do burnouts. And look at these slot mags. We are styling up front. So got a couple tricks that might help us do a burnout. This is so dumb. So we're about to go for a drive in the Hornet with no insurance. The nitrous might be hooked up again. And we have small tires on the back. You guys ready to feel how bad this thing shakes? Oh, the steering wheel's not really on all the way either.
We're not going far, it's fine. Oh Lord.
Oh my goodness. I'm sure this thing will drive great. Oh hey, there goes the engine.
Oh, come on. Too heavy. There's still a wheel chock on it somewhere? No. There we go. Beautiful. Oh my goodness. That's the side pipe. That's not actually the engine. He's running. Let's stay first.
Yeah, probably. Probably a good idea.
Oh, this is painful.
Ah, it feels good.
It's on the road again. Come on, old girl. Oh. You can do it. We're going for a drive in the Hornet again. How good is that? We got a dome light that works. Let's turn on the radio.
Brakes work.
Yeah, that works. I mean, ish. I'm not gonna say they work great. Check it out. This is so ridiculous. So the Hornet is on the road again. We're doing 35 miles an hour down the road I grew up on. Everything is shaking like crazy, but we're cruising. It sat for 6 months. It doesn't have a charging system, so not everything's working, but it's working well enough. And I think it might have one burnout left in it. So once we get to the end of the road, I'll show you guys some tricks to how to get any car to do a burnout. Even one that's running on 4 when it's supposed to be running on 6.
Is it raining?
I think the block has a crack in it from the rod, so we're probably getting a little of that.
Just water, it's fine.
This is too good, man. Too good.
You think you want to blow it up closer to the house?
Nope, I want to blow it up down here and drag it over if I have to. I don't know what that noise is.
There's about 1,000.
There's a deer.
Dude,
There's multiple deer.
wouldn't that be the best thing?
If I hit a deer?
Kill this. It's just a deer.
Whoa, God! Oh my God! Ah, we almost hit a deer! And yes, the rain is coming from the car.
Yeah, it's getting sprinkled.
Does it idle?
Just the most ironic thing in the world.
It kind of idles now.
I know, that'd be great.
That was close. That was a few feet off.
Oh,
I should have brought, I think I did bring jumper cable, so if it is dead, we can charge it. All right, guys. So here's a trick to get any car to do a burnout, no matter how weak it is. If you have a rear brake hose, throw some vice grips on it. Sure, it's not good for the brake hose, but with this, it really doesn't matter. And then, the real key, some ATF. Doesn't matter if it's Dexron or Mercron, just throw it on there. Put it on the driver's tire, or passenger tire, sorry, because this is an open diff, and it's gonna wanna spin that tire. So, line lock, and a little bit of lube. Goes a long way. You see the genius. That is a pair of vice grips clamped onto the rear brake hose. Should work like a charm. Then there's this trick. You make sure your hat's sideways, because that's important.
We were also talking about how ironic it would be if we came.
And we almost hit one.
2.
yeah, actually, too.
I'm curious, is that much on the road up there from you guys?
Yes.
That was... Be sure you use plenty, because you want the EPA after you, after this whole deal.
Well, you need as much help as you can get.
So, should I use the nitrous or not? That's the real question.
I would do a test run, and if that doesn't work, then use the nitrous. If it does work, then use my nitrous
Come around to the
mid-burnout.
front, James.
You want to see the glorious purge? Alright, let's see if it'll do a burnout naturally aspirated first. Let's see if it'll start. Yep. All right, so let's jump it off first. All right.
Rod knocked now.
It might be a little rod.
She purrs.
We're gonna do a burnout though. Listen to that. That sounds lovely.
How you feeling?
I don't know.
Is it gonna work?
I don't think it's gonna work, but we'll see. How good was that? We did a burnout! One more burnout! And it's still sitting over there idling. And I definitely hit it with nitrous about the second half of that whole burnout. It wouldn't do one without it.
Dude, that's
She's
so
still running.
This is awesome. And now that we've successfully done a nitrous burnout,
You can use nitrous.
let's drive it home. I'm just gonna drive it nice and easy. It's earned the right to just relax. I'll turn the lights on too. Look at this, guys. We're riding in style. I have no words for this car. I have put this car through hell in every sense of the word. It's been across the country 7 times. It's done more nitrous burnouts than you could ever imagine. And yet, it just keeps running. Even with one thrown rod, a lifter out of a bore, so it's only running on 4, it still does nitrous burnouts. And we're still cruising. So the moral of the story is, cars are a lot tougher than we give them credit for. Especially AMC straight 6s. You can throw a rod, put some glue on it, maybe a couple, pieces of duct tape, and she'll run, and she'll get you home. So, drive your old cars, go on long adventures. Chances are you're gonna be able to fix whatever happens with baling wire. Anyway, thanks for watching. It's been an absolute riot. Until next time.